Hello, my name is Blake Higginbotham. Welcome to Home Family Gathering, where everyone has a place at the table in the Father's house. Thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to connecting, communicating, corroborating, and collaborating with you. Remember this, you are loved, blessed, and highly favored. As usual, I'm sharing my screen, and we're going to continue with the book, I Am a Son. This is going to be part 8 of I Am a Son. The awakened mind restores the awakened son. As the mind renews, the son awakens. The son awakens, the image returns. And as the image returns, creation responds. This is why Romans.8 said creation is groaning, not for revival, not for miracles, not for religion, but for sons. Because sons think differently. They see differently. They operate differently. They walk in the mind of Messiah. And the world feels the shift. The renewed mind is not optional. It is essential. It is the bridge between your spiritual identity and your earthly expression. When the mind shifts, man shifts. When the man shifts, the world around him changes. This is the unveiling of the sons. This is the restoration of the image. This is the return of the consciousness of Messiah. And you, yes, you, are being renewed day by day, not into someone else, but into who you were before time began. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that will not be able to see this right up front. Maybe over the next few years, they will be able to see it. But this particular book is not for everyone, and it's only for the sons who are awakening. And it will encourage them because it will speak to them from the Father's heart and Father's perspective, the way the Father sees them, not the way they or religion have seen them, but the way the Father sees them. From servants to sons, wherefore thou art no more a servant, but a son, according to Galatians 4:7. There is a line being drawn in the spirit, a dividing line, a line between two identities, two mindsets, two ways of walking with Yahweh. On one side stands the servant, fearful, uncertain, performing, striving, hoping to be accepted. And I run into these people all the time. They're children of God, yes. They're even Christians, yes. And they're even believers, very young in the walk. But they're fearful, uncertain, performing, striving, hoping to be accepted. On the other stands the son, confident, beloved, rooted, secure, functioning from the inheritance rather than from labor. And I want you to know you need to be very patient and gracious with those who are still speaking from an orphaned mentality, because not too many years ago or not too long ago you were. You need to be very patient and very understanding and very gracious toward those who still operate from a servant mentality. And I have no problem with being a servant leader as long as you understand that I'm a son of the kingdom and I'm an emissary of Yahweh. I'm an ambassador of Messiah, and you're not to treat me like I'm a slave. You are to respect me as a sent one, but I come to you as a servant leader because he that's greatest among us will be the servant of all. So separate this concept of a slave mentality from being a servant leader. Separate it in your own mind and thinking. But everybody, though they have some language, some experience, and have some understanding concerning sonship, all of them aren't on the same page if you have not noticed. Most believers live on the wrong side of that line, not because Yahweh put them there, but because religion trained them to stay there. Religion builds servants. The kingdom reveals sons. And I want you to know there's always going to be those who are on the wrong side of the line in your life. If you reject them, if you turn your back on them, they will never find the way. I thought you were called to help come alongside them and help them along the way. Why is it that we have more patience with those who have not been found than we have with the children who are still stumbling to find their way, groping around in the darkness? How is that possible? How does that represent the way of the Father's heart? If we say we have compassion on the unfound and the ignorant, but we have no compassion upon the unlearned and the pre-programmed and those who don't know any better. I'll leave that thought with you for a minute. Messiah did not die to make you a better servant. Messiah died to restore you to sonship. This chapter marks the transition, the crossing of the line, the awakening from slavery to sonship. And I don't think I ever really saw myself as a slave. I knew that the terminology serving the Lord and doing the work of the Lord, and all of that came out of a religious understanding. But that's not my experience with the Father or with my relationship with Him. And I had more of an understanding of sonship at a very early age in my life with the Lord, at a very early phase and stage in my life in the Lord than a lot of people did. But that doesn't mean that I still didn't have some childlike thinking and ways, even though I had an understanding of sonship and the kingdom. Even though I really didn't believe that we were serving some kind of a vindictive, vengeful God looking for an opportunity to stomp on us. Have you noticed how many people think that because of the evil and the wickedness that's going on in the world, that somehow the Lord has something to do with that? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that they'll have a crisis of faith and question everything they believe to be true based on the fact that they believe that Yahweh has the ability to do something about some of these things, but yet chooses not to. And listen to what I'm saying to you. Are you ready? He's already done everything He's going to do, and He's given us authority to change what we don't really see as being the way of the kingdom. Can I say that again? He's already done all that He's going to do, but He's given us the authority to change everything that we see by binding and loosing, and He's given us the authority to represent Him in a way that brings about that change. And if you're waiting for Him to come back and stomp a mud hole in the anti-Messiah, we're going to be waiting a long time. I'll leave that thought with you for a minute. Ponder that for a few minutes. The servant mindset is subtle. It's a religious prison is what it is. It hides beneath noble language. It often disguises itself as humility or devotion, but at the root, it's fear-based identity. And if you don't think that religion has produced fear and guilt, then you better wake up and smell the coffee. All you got to do is go back and refer to some of the preaching that you've heard in the past. All you've got to do is go back and relive some of the moments that you experienced in what man calls the church. And all you've got to do is live in the past, and you'll go ahead and just stay a prisoner to the servant mindset. Or you can allow deliverance to take place, be made freer, and break all the chains and bust out of prison. Does that make sense to you? And go ahead and move on into sonship. A servant says, I must earn Yahweh's approval. I hope He's pleased with me. I'm not worthy unless I'm performing. Yahweh is watching to see if I fell. Maybe one day I'll be good enough. And I know that nobody on this call would ever identify with those 5 points. But yet, I still hear it come out of some of you, and I'm concerned that some of you may be still living there. It's a subconscious thing. It's a subconscious thing. It's a part of your old DNA, which is not divine nature attitude. Your old DNA is associated with the first man, Adam, and what we became apart from him. The mindset is reinforced by systems that thrive on guilt. Do you browbeat and shame people still to try to get their attention instead of speaking the Father's heart to them? No, I wouldn't do that. It thrives on guilt, shame, and spiritual insecurity. In other words, do you play on the insecurity of people to prove a point or to prove your superiority? No, you wouldn't do that. Servants are kept busy, but never free, active, but never anchored, obedient, but never confident. Religion fears sons because sons cannot be controlled. I want you to know the first thought that came to me before starting today is we don't have to do anything that we don't see the Father doing. So relieve yourself of all those burdens that you have, that you are carrying, all of that weight that you're carrying that you should not be carrying, for which you have no grace and mercy. Rid yourself of them, unload them, roll them over on Him, because we are not obligated to do anything that we don't see the Father doing, and we are not obligated to say anything that we don't hear Him saying. I can tell you right now, you can relieve yourself of a whole lot of pressure and a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of pain by operating like that. So it trains people to become spiritual employees rather than heirs. But Yahweh never wanted an army of workers. We're not worker ants or bees. He wanted a family of rulers. He's called us to be a nation and a kingdom of priests. Sonship mindset, the culture of the kingdom. The kingdom does not operate on the currency of performance. It operates on the currency of identity. A son says, I am already accepted. I do not work for approval. I work from approval. My Father delights in me. I am an heir, not a hireling. His presence is my home, not my reward. A son lives out of these 5 things. Now, I hear these words sometimes mixed in with the other actions. I hear these words coming out of people that are not there yet, that are somewhere in between in their thinking and ways. But I want you to know they're on the way. They're headed in the right direction. Leave them alone. Let the Father do His work, and don't you interfere. A son does not fear the Father's correction, because he knows correction is not rejection, it is formation. Adam, Yahweh took the dust of the earth and formed a man, and then He breathed the breath of life into his nostrils. In Yeshua, there's a formation taking place on the inside of us that sometimes we feel the hand of the Father forming us by His Spirit and by His Word, and some of His children see that as rejection or punishment. You'll know something's happening when you're able to rejoice with correction, and you'll be able to understand that the Father loves you so much that He will not allow you to meet your own destruction at your own hand unless you press beyond His hand. Aren't you glad of that? A son does not compete with other sons. I know none of us on this call would ever compete with another son, because inheritance is not scarce, it's an abundant. It is abundant. There's enough to go around. I don't have to jockey for position around the table. I don't have to vie and somehow bargain and plead for my inheritance. Demand my inheritance. Because it's not scarce, it is abundant. A son does not run from responsibility, because responsibility is not pressure, it is privilege. I know no one on this call would shirk responsibility in the name of, I don't want to do that anymore, or I'm beyond that. I know nobody would. I can't fathom that in my mind, that somebody would possibly do something like that. Everything changes when identity shifts. Behavior follows identity. Function flows from nature. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Matthew 3:17. In another place it says, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Hear him. Before he preached, he'll cast out devils or discipline or discipled anyone, which is discipline, discipled anyone. He was affirmed as a son. Identity preceded assignment. Love preceded ministry. Belovedness preceded obedience. This is the order of the kingdom: assignment, ministry, obedience. Identity, love, belovedness. The spirit of adoption breaks the spirit of slavery. Romans 8:15 says, you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption. Notice the contrast: bondage versus adoption, fear versus belonging, distance versus access, hired hands versus heirs. How many hirelings have you met in your life in the ministry? How many of his children are still in bondage and walk in fear, and they feel distant? Their whole prayer life revolves around, if it be your will. Their whole prayer life is always in some way trying to appease a God that's somewhere out there somewhere. If you're out there, please make yourself known to me. Am I lying? Am I telling the truth? Make yourself known to me if you're real. I just completed a brand new book that I'll be publishing soon called Yahweh Shammah, the Elohim who is there. And I'll just go ahead and add to the end of that, from the beginning to the end always. And that's what the book says, from Genesis to Revelation, in 30 chapters, which represent days, 30 days of devotional praying of those chapters. Yahweh Shammah, the Elohim, who is there now and then. Adoption is not Yahweh reluctantly accepting you. Adoption is Yahweh publicly claiming you. And the spirit of adoption does not whisper, it cries, Abba, Father. Some people have reduced Abba, Father to Papa or Daddy, Father. I don't believe that for a minute. It's a whole lot more than that. It's Father, Father. My Father, my Father. The cry is not a theological statement. It is the sound of a spirit awakening to its truest identity. Slaves say master. Sons say father. They called him master prior to the day of Pentecost. And he said, pray, our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Before the day of Pentecost, after the day of Pentecost, they understood that prayer. They understood that prayer after the day of Pentecost because it was no longer being prayed in the past tense. It was being prayed out of the eternal now, and it was being prayed in the present. All creation responds to the voice of sons, not servants. Paul I know, Yeshua I know, but who the heck are you, sons of Sceva? And they were praying. They were praying to God, and they were religious, and they were devout, and they had a belief system. And the seven sons of Sceva were religious zealots. But the spirits in that demoniac didn't even recognize their authority. Who the heck are you? And he liked to tore them up before they could get out. The prodigal and the elder brother, two forms of slavery. Jesus gave us a picture on both sides of the servant mindset, Luke 15. The prodigal son, he believed that he had fallen too far. He rehearsed the servant speech. Make me as one of your hired servants. But the father interrupted him. The father refused to let him finish. The father restored him instantly. Why? Because the father never stopped seeing him as a son. Then you got the elder brother. He had never left the house. He had never sinned outwardly. He never rebelled. Yet he said, I have served you all these years. A slave in the father's house is still a slave. Geography is not identity. Proximity is not sonship. One son ran away from home. The other son ran away from identity and the inheritance that he already had. Both sons were living as servants, and the father invited both to come home. The father does not want servants. He wants sons. From Genesis to Revelation, Yahweh's desires has never changed. He wanted Adam to walk with him as a son. He wanted Israel to be a kingdom of sons. He wanted David to rule as a son. He wanted Solomon to build as a son. He sent the Messiah as the firstborn son of many sons. And today he's awakening a company of sons who will carry his heart into the earth. This is the generation creation has been groaning for, not gifted servants, mature sons. Sons who know who they are, sons who walk in authority, sons who reflect their father, sons who restore the image Adam lost, sons who manifest the kingdom wherever they go. Hallelujah. Thank you, Father. Thank you for joining us today. You are always welcome. And until next time, this is Blake Higginbotham with Home Family Gathering. You can find all of my books and music at www.books.blh.me and www.musicbyblh.me. Blessings to you and your household and family.
Home Family Gathering is a listener-supported ministry and we appreciate your support. Apostolic Kingdom Alliance and Blake Higginbotham are supported by the generous contributions of friends and family. We are grateful for your continued support in the ongoing work of Apostolic/Kingdom Ministry. Thank you.